On YouTube?
We are live. All right.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sammy. Good afternoon. Welcome to the New York State Senate District 61 Democratic Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Genesee County Democratic Committee and the Genesee County Young Democrats. My name is Michael Plitt. I am the chairperson of the Genesee County Democratic Committee. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to thank all of the essential workers, such as first responders, healthcare workers, but also some of the essential workers we sometimes forget, such as grocery store and farm workers. I hope you and your family and friends are all making the best of the corona situation. In what seems like a lifetime ago, or January, the Genesee County Democratic Committee had a successful state Senate candidate forum at Moon Java in Batavia, filling the room to capacity. I wish we could return to having an event like that in person. I love the in-person events. The energy of in-person events is amazing. However, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And Genesee County Democrats see this forum as an opportunity to reach out to folks who may not be able to attend in person. This forum will be on YouTube and Facebook Live. Thanks to the Genesee County Young Democrats, hi Sammy and Christina, for doing all the technical behind the scenes magic to make this event possible, and the Tompkins County Democratic Committee for the idea. Just a moment on the Genesee County Democrats. Did you know Genesee County has over 9,500 registered Democrats? Genesee County Democratic Committee is the local committee of the Democratic Party. We are local folks right here in the community who are driven to make Genesee County a better place. If you are someone who is civic-minded, ambitious, enjoy exploring creative solutions to problems, and want to make an impact in your community, we want to talk to you. If you're interested in getting involved politically in any capacity, reach out to us, GeneseeCountyDemocrats.net. Has anyone ever heard that there's an election in November? I don't know. Anyone have opinions on the guy in the White House? Just kidding. We could talk about that all night. We are extremely lucky this year to have 3 qualified women running for the Democratic nomination for state Senate. As a leading Democrat, I often hear people frustrated it's hard to access or talk to candidates at the national level. But everyone has an opinion on Burden or Biden or Pete or Liz. But these 3 women running for state Senate, you can have an influence. You could talk to them, you can access them. But before we get to them, we have a special surprise guest. He's been fighting like hell. He came so close last time. We really don't need to elect anyone Republicans named Chris to Congress. He's got a great background. He's in Leroy. Nate McMurray, our next congressman. And this is where the crowd will go crazy.
Hey, Michael, thank you for saying that, and thank you for setting this up. And I am in Leroy, and as you can see, it's so beautiful, and it really looks like a postcard here, and I love coming through here. Look, I want to say to all of you, thank you for your involvement in this. I thank you for the hard work of Michael and your team. We have to think of creative ways to stay involved in politics right now, and it's not an easy time. I just came away from a stand at every corner event in Rush, and we kept 6 to 10 feet apart, and there's people with masks and signs in the corner, and it was a great event. And I think we have to get more and more creative with events like that and online events. So I congratulate Sammy and everyone else involved for doing this. I want to say some words about each of the candidates real quick, if I can do so. Joan, I know Joan well. She is a fighter. She's been fighting since the get-go, and she never gets up. You can never underestimate Joan's work ethic and who she is. She is someone who will she's driven. If you talk about Jacqui for a second, Jacqui's a great person. She has support of so many people within the party because they know she's loyal. They know she's committed. They know the values that she represents. And talk about Kim. Kim is just full of charisma, and she's someone that is a natural leader. So you have 3 great people, and I think every one of them should be applauded for being involved in politics. This is not easy. As someone who's been at it for a few years now, it is most days it's lonely, it's isolating, and it's miserable. But when it's great, it is great. That night at Moon Java was fantastic. Events like this are fantastic. And I think we should all be proud and we should all applaud these candidates for fighting for what they believe in. And look, there's been such movement for Democrats across our country, but especially in NY27 over the last few years, and in places like Genesee County. And that's because of the hard work of Michael, hard work of people like Erica, the hard people of people like Nikki Calhoun, and so many others. Thank you for doing what you do. There are thousands of Democrats out here. Let's squeeze every single vote and get everyone elected, and let's fight hard. And I appreciate your time, and I'm thankful to know all of you, and I'm thankful for your commitment to the values that we care about.
Thanks, Nate. Fight like hell.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nate. Okay, now for the millions and millions of you watching at home, let's get to the meat of the matter. Let me go over the format here. The candidates will have 3 minutes to introduce yourselves and 3 minutes to answer each question, and there'll be a 5 minutes closing remark. After 2 rounds of questions, we will have a segment by First Vice Chair of the Genesee County Democrats, Nikki Calhoun. She'll be talking about what we'll be voting on the 23rd. So let's get started. Jacqui Berger, tell us about yourself.
Thank you for doing this, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to whoever is out there. I'm Jacqui Berger, and I'm excited to be running for state senate to represent the 61st district. I'm a single mother, a labor leader, an educator, an activist, an advocate, and current town board member and deputy supervisor in the town of Amherst. Now I want to represent us in Albany. I've spent my life advocating for the voiceless, and I plan to bring the fight for children and families, quality public education, the environment, healthcare, people with disabilities, and the rights of working people to Albany. I know what it's like to struggle to take care of 3 children as a single parent without the resources to do so. I fell between the cracks. I also know what it's like to take care of aging parents and have to constantly worry about their care. Government is about service, about listening, building relationships, working with people. This isn't what I was planning to do in my 60s, but when I work, I get results. Fixing sewers so streets and houses aren't damaged, creating new parks, enhancing and creating inclusive playgrounds for our children. I'm a member of and I'm facilitating Amherst's participation in the Erie County Opiate Task Force, something we need to spread statewide, creating greater access to 5G and fiber optic technology for everyone, creating an agricultural business park in Amherst, providing agricultural protection districts and education to support farming. I'm working with the trades to create a pre-apprenticeship program. I work with everyone, constituents, community groups, businesses. I'll talk to anybody. I'm always available. I'm focused on the details of making things work, meeting the needs of the district. I work with Supervisor Culpa in Amherst every day to change the town, to make our community a better place to live, work, and play. I will take that proven record to Albany. I promise to utilize my position in the Senate majority to bring attention and state resources to all parts of the districts. I'm no stranger to serving the community. I've done that my entire life, and I believe I have the qualifications and ability to win the 61st District Senate seat. I humbly ask for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqui. Perfect timing. Next up, Joan Seamans. Unmute.
So sorry. I want to thank everybody that put this together tonight. I think it's really great. I also want to thank Nate for his kind words, and I look forward to working with him after the primary and traveling across the district and bringing out voters. I'm Joan Elizabeth Seamans. I ran for the state Senate seat in 2018, and I'm running again in 2020 because honestly, not enough has been done for this district. Certainly, we're in such challenging times right now. Honestly, in the light of the coronavirus, people are really struggling. life no longer looks the same. We have people that have fallen on absolutely devastating economic times. Businesses don't know if they're viable, and people are wondering if they're going to become sick and die. Regarding businesses, just 2 businesses next door to me today, 2 pulled away with trailers and are not opening up again. So we are in hard times. My personal life and my professional life has brought me to a place where I now can serve again. And I can serve well. I know what it's like to grow up in a family with little to nothing and to struggle. I know what it's like to work hard my entire life, build a business, live through economic challenges, and build again. I know what it's like to take care of my 93-year-old father and make sure he's happy, and man, do I love him. I also know what it's like to take care of children and worry about their future. I know what it's like to sit with families whose children struggle with addiction and try to guide them towards help. Like many of you, life has not been easy, but there is hope. As a business owner, community advocate, former government trustee, I know what it's like to listen, prioritize, work, and get things done. I've spent 3 years traveling across this district. The pandemic has amplified so many of the issues we've talked about: jobs, education, farming, internet, infrastructure, healthcare, small business support, services for our veterans and seniors. I've heard you. I truly have heard you. These issues are my priorities, and there's much work to be done. As we face the challenges ahead, I will fight to make sure that Genesee finally has a seat at the table. We've been waiting for this. Our diverse needs need to be addressed. We must not plan just to recover. We must plan to thrive. So I'm asking you for your vote so I can continue working in this direction and make sure your voices are brought to Albany. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Joan. Fantastic. Next up, Kimberly Smith. Take it away. Unmute.
That's important. So greetings, Genesee County. So first, thank you to the Genesee County Democratic Committee and the Young Dems for organizing and hosting this event and allowing us to connect in the midst of COVID. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in and giving us your time and attention. I hope all are doing well, staying safe and healthy during this time. And of course, go Nate McMurray. So as stated, I am Kim Smith, and I am from the Monroe County portion of the district, more specifically, the 19th Ward. And I have been providing community service for as long as I can remember. And as the needs of our communities expand, so has my service. And within my 20 years at the County Health Department, it didn't take me long to realize that if I really wanted to be of service to communities, I needed to address the systems that impact our everyday lives. And so service led me to my master's in public administration. I wanted to know policy, how to interpret it, how to write it, how to implement it, and most importantly, how to effectively build it and center it around the needs of our communities. I had an awesome public health career, but what I am most proud of is the creation of a countywide coalition, Monroe County Partnering to End the Epidemic, a coalition that ensured accountability for the care of one of our most vulnerable populations and moved them to care within 24 to 48 hours. I also supervised our contact tracing program, the same public health strategy that is being applied to the COVID prevention. And we had some of the highest performers in New York State. I was on the Public Health Honor Roll, attended and presented at statewide and national conferences, but service led me away from public health and into activism. A statewide organizer working in Rochester, Buffalo, and in Syracuse to bring more equitable policies to Western New York. And we have had many political wins around the opioid crisis, around homelessness, and including working with this coalition to create the historical rent change regulation laws for tenants here in upstate New York. And as an activist moving through the halls of Albany, meeting with various elects throughout the state, I realized that we in Western New York, we do not receive our fair share of resources, not simply because of government bias, but because we lack strong, qualified, experienced, and concerned representation. So here I am, now running in this severely gerrymandered area to represent the people of District 61. We need strong, qualified representation, especially as we reimagine our world beyond COVID. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, Kim. Wow, we have 3 fantastic candidates. This is really great. Okay, question number 1. Agriculture is the #1 industry in Genesee County. How will you assist those in the farming community? Joan, you're up first.
Great. I think, well, first of all, this topic we could take an evening on, to be honest with you. So I'm going to be as brief as I can and touch on things I think are very important. Yes, it is the largest business in Genesee County. And the pandemic has had a catastrophic effect on our farmers, from dumping milk to not getting crops to market. But before the pandemic, it was devastating. The reality is that 50% of our farmers across the state lost money, 50% of them. So, yes, there's price fixing with the dairy farmers. That is imposed by the federal government. That is unsustainable, period. It is unsustainable. But we can't change that in New York State. That could only be changed on the national level. But what can we do as a state? Okay, so our mission as government is to provide the tools and opportunities for people to succeed. In this case, not only recover our farmers, but thrive. How do we do that? We have to reduce farmers' costs. We have to expand their markets for their products, and we have to nurture the next generation of farmers, because there is one and there should be. My role as senator is to work with the National Farm Bureau, the New York Farm Bureau, and the upstate Democrats and Republicans to work towards meaningful solutions to improve the lives and the livelihoods of our farmers. Okay, budget cuts are a concern coming out of Albany. We've heard it day in and day out unless we get federal support. Well, things I support. Continuing with property tax exemptions for our farmers. Also, those farmers who are thinking about improving their workers' housing, low interest loans, and also increasing the loan cap to $200,000. I fully support that. I don't know if people know this, but in New York State, our labor costs are higher here for our farmers than they are in most of the country. To support farmers and provide relief, I support the workforce retention credit, which increases the tax credit from $600 to $1,200 per worker. I think that will help a little bit. Also, I think we need to support our young farmers. We need to have loan forgiveness programs from everything we can do to encourage them onward. Another important thing, how to increase, I would say, resources. I support incentives for our school districts, so they will use farmers, growers, and producers' products for their breakfasts and lunches. And I think we should incentivize the schools so they do that. So what about individualized care for Genesee farmers? Okay, this is the hard truth. If we don't have the seat at the table in Albany, we will continue to be left out. In this year's budget, and this is important, I'm going to talk fast. We have a dairy industry strategic plan, which is in the budget. $85 million going to benefits in Delaware, Sullivan, and Orange counties, but not Genesee. You see what I'm saying? We don't have a representative, a Democrat who's in the majority, who can bring these victories home for our district. So again, my goal as senator is to fight hard. I want to join the Agriculture Committee when I'm in the Senate, and I want to make sure we have our fair share of resources. Thank you.
Thanks, Joan. Kim, agriculture is the #1 industry in Genesee County. How will you assist those in the farming community?
I certainly don't want to be redundant and repeat what Joan mentioned, so I'll build on that. So there are many variations, of farmers in Genesee County, and there are many complexities, challenges, but also opportunities. And last summer, I attended the annual Decisions Maker AG tour out in Genesee County. And during that session, there were some of the bigger farms in the community, and folks from the community showed up and asked questions pertaining to workforce development and better growth and wage opportunities. And that suggests that there may be a strong role for unions there. And then you have your medium-sized farms who are doing reasonably well, but challenged with distribution and high distribution cost. And we need innovative collaboratives that would benefit them, such as working out ways to supply their goods to areas within the district that lack grocery stores, food deserts, places that lack food and rely heavily on mom and pop and convenience stores for resources. And then you have the smaller farms who often face the bigger challenges. We could be here all day talking about the inequities that exist among the subsidies that are given out, often leaving small farmers behind. There's an imbalance of cost, high labor and production with very low cost in sales, leaving them barely being able to break even. And I can't imagine the amount of debt that no one wants to speak about. And then we have the infamous Farm Aid Bill, which we do not have the time to get in depth about, but that is a bill that certainly needs some amendment. And I would love to see New York State put resources in the Farm to School program that is meant to get more youth involved in agriculture and apply those resources to create partnerships with small farms. And we also, again, need to take a closer look at those subsidies and how they are given out. And then last but not least, we have the New York State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which states that revenue will go to disproportionately impacted communities. And I would champion that small farmers are included in that revenue because they are disproportionately impacted.
Thanks, Kim. Is that it? I didn't mean to cut you off or anything.
I'm good.
Perfect. All right. Jacqui, same question. I could read it again. Agriculture is the #1 industry in Genesee County. How will you?
You don't need to read it again. My button wasn't unmuting.
Okay.
Sorry about the delay. Yes, excuse me. Knowing that farming is the driver of the economy in Genesee County is important to frame everything in terms of farming. It impacts everything that happens in the county. The rest of the economy builds on it. So there are a number of things we need to do to strengthen farms. We know that there's been more yogurt and cheese for the dairy farmers. That's a way. Hang on, I need to take a water break. Sorry about that. So we know that they need to get involved in the yogurt and cheese industry to subsidize their costs and help make things work better for the dairy farmers. We need to support farmers in lots of ways. There are ways to provide support so that they can reduce costs, because that's part of what we need to do, is find ways to help make more efficient, utilize things better, do cooperatives. One of the things we're working on in Amherst that I've been involved in is we're working on the Ag Business District and Ag Business Park, where the farmers are going to work together to share resources. And that's something that we could see building on what you already have in the county, because I know you have some of that. What's really important is to work with the agricultural associations and the farmers to look at exactly what they need to reduce cost. What kind of subsidies or supports could they get for buildings, equipment, tax credits, things like that, that New York State can do to help reduce their costs. But probably most important, when we look at agriculture in New York State, as a senator, I'd be spending time pointing out the difference between agriculture in Western New York and downstate. It's very different. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqui. Isn't this fantastic? 3 qualified women running for a seat, talking about the issues. I love this stuff. And again, we received a lot of questions from you, the general public, and we won't be able to get to them all. All 3 of these candidates, they're available. You search their websites, reach out to them. They'll talk to you. So again, I apologize to those of you who we didn't get to your questions. Okay, question number 2. We're going to start with Kim. With multiple staff cuts in school districts across District 61, including the city of Batavia, there are fewer educators to teach larger numbers of children, causing difficulties for teachers and students alike. How would you address this?
So during the listening session that I held in January, it was mentioned that there was this fear that because of the infrastructure, Genesee County kids wouldn't be able to keep up with the changing technology to keep them at a level playing field. And then from there, someone mentioned or raised the concern that the same educational crisis that the Rochester City School District is experiencing would begin in Genesee County. Well, here we are. So last month, I tuned into the Genesee County Board of Education meeting on YouTube, and I listened as they discussed the challenges of meeting the needs in the midst of budget cuts, and as they discussed cutting 30 positions and potential cost savings around busing and transportation, questions arose such as, what about the breakfast programs that kids receive? What about the after-school programs like sports that kids enjoy? And I listened to those questions and cuts, and I felt extremely hurt and frustrated because these are our kids and this is our future. So currently, the formula that calculates funding needs are based on the amount of in-kind resources and items that are not truly based on educational needs. So during COVID, we speak a lot of essential workers, but moving forward, when it comes to the budget, we need to speak more about essential needs, and public education is an essential need. So I will wholeheartedly oppose the current calculation of public education funding and push for a more needs-based formula to give our kids the adequate resources and opportunities that they need and so deserve, and have yet to discuss public education. And we have yet to discuss public education even as it relates to community college. So public education is one of my primary platforms, and we need on a state level to start seeing it as an essential service and replace and oppose the current foundational aid formula.
Thank you, Kim. Next, Jacqui.
Well, this question is rather easy for me to answer. As an educator and a NYS union member, I have spent my life fighting for the resources that our schools need. We have been underfunded in most cities and towns and villages throughout the area. All of the school districts in the district have not received their full funding, even based on the formula. Many of the schools are owed millions of dollars, huge numbers. As an educator, as a public school educator, which is what I've spent my life doing, even though I'm an elected official, I'm still teaching. We need to do right by the kids. Some of the programs are really critical, and I have been working with the districts to make sure we're providing services. When COVID hit, we connected with all the school districts in the area to help facilitate lunch programs, the free lunch programs, and other needs of students. That needs to happen, and we've been trying to provide additional resources to the children as well. It's also important to not only think about the funding, but to think about the process. The process for education needs to remain local. The districts need to be making the decisions. They need to be appropriately funded, and the school boards need to be making the decisions about what happens locally so that it meets the community's needs. The cuts are horrendous. We have been fighting that every single day. I've probably been fighting that for the last 10 years, easy. It's something that's really important, but we need to make sure schools are funded. We need to stop wasting money on excessive testing, on bureaucracy. We need to let teachers teach again.
Thank you, Jacqui. Next up, Joan.
I've always held the belief that education is the key to all success, and I will say all success for our children. I also believe that if we invested in education today, fully invested in quality education for every single child, we would wipe out poverty in 20 years. I believe that. Invested it today, and in 20 years, what poverty will be gone. Yes, the state is facing a deficit, which is incredibly horrible. The lack of revenue in the state and in our local municipalities is really affecting everyone. As we mentioned earlier, Batavia is losing 30 employees across the county. Cuts are being discussed. You know, when you watch the governor every day and he talks about the cuts are coming unless we get federal aid. Well, the thing is this, we have to make a decision as a state. What are we going to do? You know, it's not the time to move backwards at all. Larger class sizes, program cuts, social workers are cut in schools. Teachers are doing more against all odds. The children suffer. So what do we do? Funding is an issue. It is an issue. And I'm going to take a different turn than the other women tonight and talk about some problems we have in New York State. And it has to do with money and taxes. We cannot address this problem unless we talk about the uncollected tax revenues that are across our state. We have to take a cold, hard look at this. There are hundreds of millions in property taxes we don't collect. For too long, politicians have worked and voted for tax laws to keep money out of our districts. While families here in Genesee County, Erie County, and Monroe County cannot afford to even improve their properties, okay? The tax burdens for upstate condo owners, they save about 36% on their tax bills. In upstate alone, $330 million in property taxes are lost, leaving others to pick up the slack and pay for local schools and governments. Another glaring example, luxury downstate developer, Glenwood Enterprises, Glenwood Properties. Our current senator received $200,000 in campaign contributions. That developer, hundreds of millions in tax breaks. That's hundreds of millions for one developer, luxury developer. These tax breaks are not necessary in New York State at all. They're unwarranted. So again, we have to talk about our priorities. We have to funnel money towards the priorities, which are our students. Every child deserves a stellar education, period. No question. It's unacceptable that they don't, no matter where they live. If we invest in our children, we'll invest in our future. And now is not the time to look backwards. It's time to look forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Now it's time for our halftime show. Unfortunately, we don't have Taylor Swift or anything like that. We have something more important. We have First Vice Chair and Leroy Chair, Nikki Calhoun, that's going to talk about voting on June 23rd. Thanks, Nikki.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so there has been a ton of confusion going on as far as the voting process this year. You're not alone in being confused. Your local Board of Elections are trying their best to go ahead and help everybody. But we have a lot of important things to vote for this year as Democrats. First up, obviously, we have our Senate 61st primary between these three lovely ladies. And thank goodness we do, because, you know, this is exciting for us. You know, we have three amazing women who are willing to stand up and fight for us. And that is truly a privilege that we should take advantage of. As many of you know, we also have the New York State Congressional special election for District 27. That is between our infamous Nate McMurray and Chris Jacobs. So make sure you vote for that one. And then, of course, we have our presidential primary. As a quick segue, I want to remind everybody that your local school budget, school board, and library budget ballots should be arriving in the mail as well. Those are coming from your local districts, but make sure you take a chance to look those over, because they're just as important, and they're gonna, you know, as these ladies say, reflect on what your kids and your community gets this year and how it spends its money. So we can go to the next slide. So thank you. Here's a sample ballot of the Senate District 61. As you can see, there's Kim, Jacqui, and Joan all listed on there. The first page should be filled out for you, and sorry, hold on one second, technical. It'll have your town and your election district on there. Use either a black or blue pen to fill out your ballots, please. Do not do any additional writing or marks on your ballot. Fill in your circle completely. This is going back to when we were all in grade school. Fill in your little circle all the way, unless you're going to do a write-in, but why would you? So we can go to the next slide. Here we have an example of the special election. Same rules, fill your circles in all the ways. And there's Nate right there at the very top of that ballot. So it's going to be pretty easy for everybody. And we can go to the next slide. Here's your presidential primary. On the one side is the presidential candidate that you will be voting for. The next section on here is all of your delegates. Those are the people who go to the convention and go ahead and vote on your behalf. You are allowed to choose any 6 individuals. They do coincide with the individual that they will be representing, but you're allowed to choose 6 of them. And we can go to the next slide. So there's a lot of questions surrounding the absentee voting. Most counties have gone ahead and sent out their absentee application. All registered voters should either have received that or will be receiving it very shortly. If you have not, you can always go online and apply for one with your local Board of Elections. As soon as they get that back from you, go ahead, fill it out, and your ballot should be in the mail there shortly. With the ballots, you will be receiving 3 separate ballots at 3 separate times based on how your board is going ahead and mailing them out. You will receive your Senate primary, you will receive your presidential primary, and you will receive a ballot for the special election. So you will have 3 envelopes in the mail. We're not sending out duplicates. If you choose not to go ahead and vote by mail this year, there's early voting. Your county will have designated early voting sites and times. Every county is a little bit different, and we will go ahead and have Genesee County listed on the next slide. Or if you choose to, you can always just go to your local voting site on Tuesday, the 23rd. Polls open at 6 a.m. and close at 9 p.m. In Genesee County, all polls will be open except for 400 Towers. If you normally vote at 400 Towers, you will now be going to Ascension Parish. Next slide. Here's our list of early voting. All early voting is done down at County Building 2 in Batavia. That's the one out by the animal shelter. As you can see, times and dates do vary. So if you have any questions on this, you can go to the Genesee County Board of Elections website, click on the early voting tab, and this is listed. Next site. Poll workers at your local polling sites will be able to help you if you have any questions. Anyone with disabilities can start voting as of June 1st by appointment. You can go ahead and call them and they will set that up for you as well so that you can get in and do it in person. All polling sites are going to require that you do wear a mask and that you sanitize before entering the building and before voting. This is to go ahead and not only protect you, but to protect the other voters and to protect our poll workers. Speaking of poll workers, if anybody is interested in becoming a poll worker, please contact your local Board of Elections as soon as possible. It's a great way to earn a little bit of extra money and give back to your community. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So you can remember, your vote counts. These are really important votes that you're going to do this year. Things are not the way they normally are. They are different for everybody, and everybody is doing their very, very best. But as long as you go ahead and remember to fill out that ballot, whether it's absentee, whether it's early voting, or whether it's on election day, just make sure you're involved and that you vote. We have amazing candidates this year to choose from. Let's go ahead and show them that Genesee County has what it takes, and we can get the numbers out there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nikki. Oh, that was great. Yes, we expect all 9,000 Democrats to vote on June 23rd. And if you see a Board of Elections worker, please thank them. It's a thankless job. If for those of you who are political junkies, this primary and the day and the process has had a lot of twists and turns. So I definitely want to give thanks to Lori Longany, the Democratic Board of Elections Commissioner, as well as Dick Siebert, the Republican Commissioner. They are both done a fantastic job. Their deputies, Karen and Melissa, again, they go above and beyond the call of duty. And if anyone does have any questions about voting or their ballots or anything, they can feel free to reach out to the Board of Elections. They can reach out to us at the Genesee County Democratic Committee. We know it's confusing. We know people have a lot going on in their lives, and it's not the usual process. So thank you to our poll workers, and no questions are bad question when it comes to voting. Okay, this is where I cue the music to get back to our show, but I don't have that music. You could tell my third career, I want to be a game show host. So this might be as close as I get to doing that. No, we aren't going to go to Supermarket Suite. Okay, the third question, we're going to start with Jacqui. The question is, our area has infrastructure accessibility issues, such as transportation and internet services. What steps would you take to addressing these inequalities in accessibility?
Well, there's a lot of things we need to do around the state and in terms of addressing those issues. They tend to get more attention in other parts of the state than we get in Western New York. Sort of a broken record that we say this, all three of us are saying this all night, but it's important to have someone who can drive the resources, the money, and the projects to the district. We've been able to do some of that in the town. We wanted to make changes to roads, things like that. I've also been talking to people about the internet access. I know it's a problem as a faculty member at Empire State College. I have students all over the state, and I have students who have a hard time getting materials from me because they still only have dial-up. The farmers need better, high quality, high speed internet as well. We need to fund that. It's been a problem. The state has let the providers get away with ignoring areas where they think the providers will make less money. But one of the other things to think about is how the county or the community can provide the service at a lower cost and be able to provide it free in certain areas. In addition, we need to really focus on prioritizing the needs of the county in terms of where do we need roads fixed? Where do we need bridges? Where do we need more? And we need to spend time working on all of that. The high-speed internet and the roads are critical, especially now when you think about all the distance learning that everyone is doing. whereas my college does a lot via distance. Many other colleges had to switch. The K-12 system had to move, and there are lots of students who haven't been able to access their resources or their teachers because of their lack of that. So it's important to focus on bringing them to areas with less population that people don't want to pay attention to because they're not going to make as much money. It's a public service and it needs to be provided.
Thank you, Jacqui. Great answers. Okay, next up is Joan. Our area has infrastructure accessibility issues such as transportation and internet services. What steps would you take in addressing these inequalities in accessibility?
Well, first of all, with what we're going through right now and we want to rebuild our economy, now is the time that we need to take care of our infrastructure. There's no better time than now. We think about times in our country's history and what rebuilt our country, it was investing in infrastructure. You know, here we need roads, we need bridges, we need streets repaired. The South Lions Bridge in Batavia, I think it's 1 lane. We need to address the needs of fixing roads across the district. We need to get off home plate, to be honest with you, year after year. There are many projects that stall and enough is not being done. I believe that we need to think about green infrastructure as well, make it efficient and affordable. I think we need to invest in, I will say infrastructure, but not only that, jobs, jobs. And not just jobs, good paying jobs, jobs that will pay a living wage. These are all things that are all in one, I will say, one issue basket. To create jobs that will benefit our region and help boost our economy. You know, we talk about these things, but my priority has been and will continue to be upgrades and a guarantee of high-speed, affordable internet for families across Genesee County. COVID has really revealed to the world the glaring inadequacies of because of telework and teleeducation here in Genesee County. Moving forward, we don't know what the future is with telework and teleeducation. It's critical that we get on board with this right away. You know, our children and business should not be underserved. When you think about other communities, urban and suburban areas, they don't see this hardship. Our future generations deserve the same opportunities that these other communities have so they can learn and compete in the real world. But how do we get this done? Okay, as your senator, my job is to collaborate with every single upstate legislator, Republicans, Democrats alike, and join forces, finally join forces to bring this to the surface and advocate for the funding we need. It's been so long, years, and this hasn't happened. Yes, there are real threats with budget cuts. I know that, but we again have to take a hard, cold look at priorities, really. We need jobs training, we need trade schools, we need investments that will grow our economy. My mission as senator is to meet with every single town and village leader, every single one on a regular basis, say, what do you need and what can I do to help you and your community? That is my job, to work for every single person across this district. So anyway, there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm ready to take it on and bring home the resources we need. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Joan. Great answer. Kim.
I'm going to speak quickly so I can avoid seeing Sammy's signs, his time cards. So, we know that currently state and federal funding is not only inconsistent, but it does not meet the growing needs of local infrastructures. And I believe that Genesee County alone has maybe 7 to 10 special road projects that are put on the table and that need immediate attention. And unless we have an aggressive plan, we will continue to be challenged with progressing forward. And I would propose a 3-phase plan. And I think the first part of that plan would be to gain perspective on the gaps, the challenges, and the barriers. But that perspective, it has to come from the residents within the various communities and from the local officers overseeing the infrastructure. For example, according to the residents, we know that Genesee County community is challenged with affordable and accessible internet. But I also know that the United States Department of Agriculture and Rural Development put out a grant proposal for piloting internet projects in rural areas. And did anyone in Genesee County apply? And if so, what happened? And if not, why? So if we aren't getting what we need from the state, then let's take it a step further and get what we need from federal grant funds. And phase two, what areas should we be collaborating on, and to what extent? For example, we know that transportation is a huge barrier in Genesee County, primarily for those who live outside of Batavia and those who need access to essential services in the connecting counties, and the solution cannot be restricted to Medicare. So I think that that needs to be an ongoing conversation between the towns and the villages to figure out from the community what they want to see. Because as you drive through Genesee County, and I've driven through many times, and you come out of Batavia, I do not see one bus stop. And I do not understand that. And then phase three is about gaining perspective and extensive collaborative agreements. What areas of our infrastructure cannot be addressed without additional state resources? So this is the plan that we create for the state, and this is what we push for. For example, local flooding, the degree of damage and loss and displacement caused by local flooding has to be a priority. The state can pay for it now by funding preventative measures, or they can pay for it later through extensive health, wellness, and shelter costs. I see your sign, Sammy, and I am done.
Thank you, Kim. Again, thank you, everyone on this call for putting it together. Sammy and Christina for doing the technical stuff. Erica and Nikki for helping on this call. And two people I haven't mentioned who helped organize this, Ann Sapienza, Bergen Town Chair, and Tom Clark, Vice Chair of the City of Batavia. They also did a lot of work to make this event happen. Okay, question number 4. We're going to start with Joan. How would you be an advocate for Western New York and Genesee County in the New York State Senate? Simple one.
It's not simple.
Okay.
The thing is this, we have, I think it's a continuation of what I've been doing for the last 3 years. You cannot spend the time that I've spent in this district listening to people and listening to their needs and feeling it inside of your heart the way I have. I have listened to people cry about the burdens of healthcare. I've listened to people talk about mental health issues. I've listened to people, the farmers, talk about the devastation and the economic challenges they're going through. So how would I be an advocate? I've been an advocate my entire adult life. So it's not a challenge for me to continue my role, but to do it in government. So the reality is you have to be a person who kind of has a dogged personality that never gives up. And that is me, to be honest with you. I know what it takes to listen and to also implement change and to also be able to collaborate with other people and get things done. So that is my role here as senator, to listen, to learn, and say, this is not about me. This is about you. What do you need? What do you need, and how can I get it done? I've been listening for a long time, and I know what the priorities are. I've listed a few of them in my earlier statement. But I do want to talk about some things in my life that I've done that I think probably speak a little bit to the work in my persistence. I spent 4 years working with families whose children suffered from addiction. Every single Monday night of my life, I worked and helped direct them into programs and things that would help them. I spent 6 years working with our most vulnerable senior citizens, bringing programs to them every single month of my life. So I know what it's like to be committed and to be passionate about the people I care about. And I think that is just who I am. I'm an advocate that will never stop, and I will keep working hard and make sure that we have what we need in Genesee County and across the district. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Joan. All right, that was a good one. Kim, you're next.
So I am a lover of people and policy. And because advocacy requires skill in both, when I became a candidate in this race, what appealed to me most was the balance between the two. So being on the ground with the people, listening and advocating, and then building policy based on our voices. So when it comes to advocacy, there are 3 principles that I abide by and that I have grounded myself in through my professional career. I listen, I plan, and I act. So in the beginning, in January, we did 5 listening tours and we wanted to do more. We did a listening tour in Amstead, we did Amherst, we did Newstead, we did Genesee County, we did the city of Rochester, and we did Chili. And what we have done as a result of those listening tours is we have put together a long list of notes that list our commonalities, and then on the other hand, they list our differences. And then we have gone to research the policies that impact those commonalities. Policies such as transportation policies, policies that impact our economic growth. And as we are reviewing those policies, we are ready for when we take this seat to set up 90 days of government. This seat comes into Albany in January during the legislative session, and we will come in with a strong collective plan for Western New York.
Thank you, Kim. Jacqui.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things that go into play in terms of advocating for our needs. It's not just about knowing what we need. It's knowing how to work in government, how to get policy done. Those are things I do every day in the town. Those are things I've done every day for years at the college I work for. I've been on the policy committees forever. It's important to come up with a strategy. You know what you want to accomplish. You work with people to get them on board. It's not just working with the Senate, it's working with the Senate and the Assembly, because if you pass something in one house and there's no bill in the other, it dies. So it's important to work together. You find people around the state who have values and beliefs that are similar to the goal you're attempting to accomplish. And you work that, you build coalitions, you build relationships, you sit in on things, whether it's your committee or not, you sit in on meetings so you know what's going on, especially the budget committee. A new senator isn't going to be on the budget committee, but a new senator can go to budget hearings. It's important to learn the process, talk to people. I already have relationships with a number of senators from around the state that I can build on. They will work with me to help me build those relationships, because everything is relational. Knowing what needs to get done is important, but unless you have the relationships and the skills to make things happen, it won't get done. I believe I have the skills and the experience to make our priorities happen, and I know the difference between the priorities of our district and the rest of the state.
Thank you, Jacqui. All right, who isn't fired up for June 23rd? This is my pitch. If you want to help on June 23rd, contact the Genesee County Democrats, geneseedemocrats.net. If you want to help any of these fantastic candidates, please reach out to them. We need to make sure every voter knows that there is an election on the 23rd. We have to make sure they show up. We have to make sure they vote for Nate. It's not enough just to learn about a candidate and feel good about it yourself. We need your help. I'm being honest. And, with COVID, a lot of the outreach is by phone, and each and every one of you can help us do that. Okay, we have one more question. The answers for this one could go as long as you'd like. I'm just kidding. They're actually shorter. It's not that complicated of a question. This question is, and I have to look at it here. Hang on one moment. What is your favorite Western New York food and your favorite place to go in Genesee County? We're going to start out with Kim on this one.
I do not know the name of the pizzeria. I think it's called, there's like this black sign and it's called the Batavia Pizzeria. And each time I go to Batavia, I have to get a slice of pizza. What is
Batavia
it?
Original.
It's Batavia Original. Okay, so that and Tully's.
Okay.
So those are my two favorite places to go in Genesee County. And I am so sorry, but I forgot the other part of your question.
What any other place you like in Genesee County? We're not going deep on policy here. Just your favorite food and the other spots you've seen.
Always fascinated when I drive through Alabama because for whatever reason, call it sickening, it just tickles me that there's a town called Alabama.
Okay.
I just love driving through the towns. It's a nice, it's a relaxing ride. And I mean, when you drive there, it's like the houses are, some of them are like 20 to 30, oh my gosh, 20 to 30 minutes apart. I remember petitioning and Nikki's like, so Kim, what kind of list would you like? I'm like, Nikki, give me anything. And then she gave me this list and I swear I was in Genesee County for about 3 hours and I went to 3 houses.
It is spread out. There are definitely some beautiful rural areas. Our farms are fantastic.
Yes,
the animal refuge up in Alabama is fantastic. And, exciting news is the Veterans Cemetery, thanks to Senator Chuck Schumer. There will be a federal veteran cemetery going in. I think it's in the town of Pembroke, but it is going north on 77. So thank you, Senator Schumer. Next, Jacqui. Oh, muted.
Yeah,
okay.
I keep hitting the button
Okay.
under my name that says muted instead of the one on the bottom. And I do this all the time and I spend half my life on Zoom, so I should have it down pat. Well, anyway, I wouldn't say I have a Western New York favorite food, but my favorite food is ice cream, which, all right, I'm glad to see that that's a hit with you guys. And my favorite thing to do is when I'm driving around, just stop at random ice cream stands. I don't necessarily have a particular one in mind. I just like to stop at the small stands. I prefer them to the chains, but my favorite thing is to stop at ice cream stands. And I know this isn't in Genesee County, but my college's headquarters is in Saratoga Springs. And so there's an ice cream stand shortly after the exit that I get off at that I frequently stop at on the way to or from, because I'm getting off, I forget the name of the town. I'm going to, I just blanked. Anyway, it's the exit before Amsterdam, and there's a great little ice cream stand, but it became a great spot to stop. But I just love driving through communities and stopping at ice cream stands. The other thing I like is I just really enjoy driving around the community. I love the feeling of space, being able to enjoy things. I like going to farms. It's hard to pick out a particular spot. It's just nice to take a drive. It would be nice to be able to come out and see people and talk to them, but it's going to be a long time before we're doing that any other way than Zoom.
Thank you, Jackie. I think if we build the ice cream platform, lower property taxes and more ice cream, that's a winning ticket. So, you know,
I got
put
it.
them.
I got it.
We
And
do have.
actually, I should point out today is National Burger Day.
Oh, true. If we do another one, we'll do the favorite burger or wing places in Genesee County. And we do have a lot of great ice cream stands. You know, Sprinkles just opened up in Corfu, Blondie's in Batavia, Dave's and Blondie's. Nikki will tell you all the ones in Leroy. And in the district, although not in Genesee County, we all like Perry's ice cream, which is made right in downtown Akron. So yeah, I think I might get some ice cream afterward if Imogene's listening to this. Joan, you're up next.
What was that difficult question you just asked? Okay. All right. The coffee press. I have been there many times. Well, my favorite thing is a cup of hot tea with lemon. And everybody that knows me knows that's my favorite beverage. But you know what? I don't eat out a lot. You know, I take care of my dad a few days a week. I'm running a business, trying to get it back going again. I'm working on a campaign. So my favorite thing is to cook for my family. And I'm a pretty good cook. And they love it when I cook. So, yeah. So that's kind of it.
That's okay.
And if I'm going to drive around, you know, one of the things I love doing is picking up fresh produce at the side of the road. I love that as well. But yeah, I'm a pretty simple person. And yep, a cup of tea and a good home cooked meal.
Yeah, Genesee County does have a lot of, I wouldn't call them farmers markets or stands, but a lot of independent stands, especially in the rural parts. Yeah. You know, you can get honey, maple syrup, vegetables. Yeah. I've become sort of an egg snob. You know, I have a few people I get eggs from. They really are farm fresh, right from the farmer, not from the store. It is. There's a lot to discover here in Genesee County. And I apologize for that question. It's not usually your normal forum question, but we thought, you know, let's throw a curveball out there. I do so in order to give people time to get ice cream or do whatever afterwards, because it's still sunny out. We're going to move on to closing statements. So I think I have to check my list for who's next. Kim started that one. So Jackie, you're up next for your closing statement. Thank you.
This time I went to the right spot to hit the unmute button. Well, I want to begin by thanking everyone who set this up. I want to thank all the people who are watching or will watch. I think it's important to be involved in government. I've spent a long time being involved. I was mostly behind the scenes as a union leader, encouraging and working on other campaigns. And I stepped up a couple of years ago, and I like the opportunities that it brings, the things that I can bring to the community. I think it's really important to think about things a little differently right now. COVID has highlighted the disparities between communities. We knew they were there. We've been fighting for them. But now everybody sees them. Before it was just a few, well, everybody but a few people in Washington who think no one needs attention. Well, I didn't want to say those names. I'm glad I'm entertaining you, Kim. But anyway, I think it's important for us to think about how we're going to move forward. It's not just about recovering. One of the things that we're doing in the town, which the governor's also doing, and I think should be happening countywide in every single county, where we've brought stakeholders together, we're having conversations. How can we improve things? How can we grow our economy? How can we create and grow new jobs? One question that you didn't really ask about tonight, but I'm going to talk about, is the environment. Mm-hmm. That's something that's very important to me. I chair our Clean Energy Committee for the town, And we've been working on lots of initiatives that will have a big impact on the environment. And one of the things that I thought was really important, I'm encouraging the town to do things. We're investing, we're going to convert our streetlights to LED, we're adding more solar, we're adding charging stations. And I thought, gee, I'm encouraging the town to do this. What can I do at home? So I put solar on my house this winter. Everyone thought I was a little nuts doing it in the winter. It was supposed to happen in the fall, but they got backed up, and the weather was more challenging in the fall than in the winter. And I've already seen dramatic savings, and I'm contributing to the grid. And I think it's really important. It's not just saying something, but you got to walk the walk. So I thought it was important to do that. I'm also doing a lot with trees. We have a tree initiative in the town, and we've been working on our passive parks and other places to add more trees. We're doing different kinds of projects where we're thinking about the environment. We're using porous pavement instead of regular pavement so that water can drain through. We're doing a lot of bioretention and filtration systems. And those are things that are important. And at one point, the state was providing a lot of incentives, and they need to re-incentivize and make those programs easier. But I wanted to bring that up because that's an important topic to me that we didn't talk about. And also reimagining jobs, having training programs out there at the community colleges, apprenticeships, internships, so people learn the skills they need. Oh, that was quick. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for the time to speak with you. And people, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer questions, spend time talking to you. I really care about our community, and I'm passionate about serving you in Albany. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqui. Way to bring it home. Good job. Okay, next up is Joan.
All right. First thing, in my spare time at night when I couldn't sleep, I made masks. If anybody needs a free face mask, go to my website, Joan, www.seamans4senate.com, and I'm giving away masks to those in the community. And yes, we do have Democrat masks. Anyway, tonight I'm asking for your vote. All right. We have in front of us an opportunity to finally get the help we need in Genesee County and across this district. I am a proven leader in my community and a proven advocate for others. No other Senate candidate in the last 10 years has spent the time I've spent in this community, traveling thousands of miles, talking to the people who live here. I've been to coffee shops, fairs, car shows, truck shows, gun clubs, shooting guns with folks in Alabama. I've spoken with your farmers. I've spoken with pastors. I've spoken with people young and old. I did not wait for you to come to me. I came to you so I could listen and hear what you needed to say. Because many, many people in Genesee County are at their wits' end. I'll keep it clean, but very frustrated because they feel that they've been ignored. They see an imbalance in what's happening here versus other areas of the state. I won't say that out loud. And they want to make sure that they're going to be represented. They're tired of it being about the suburbs and the city and not about the rural area. Just saying. So yes, I've put in thousands of miles and I've spoken with thousands of people. I feel I'm a part of this community. I feel that I have relationships here. And I believe that I just feel at home here. So it's important we have hope. All right. Genesee can no longer be an afterthought, period. It cannot. It must be on the forefront of policy in Albany. It hasn't been. It just hasn't been. So it's time that we do that. So if that's important to you, I ask for your vote. If you're ready for someone who's not beholden to party bosses, who's strong enough to be independent and work for only the people, then I'm going to ask for your vote. If you believe the politicians should be held accountable and term limits are a good idea, then I'm going to ask for your vote. If you think that you need somebody who chooses people over politics and won't be a rubber stamp for anyone, then I'm going to ask for your vote. If you're looking for a candidate who has the skills to work across the aisle, I've negotiated with people and worked with people my entire adult life. If you believe you need somebody that can do that, who also respects everyone who they come in contact with and who will work tirelessly for every single person, then I'm going to ask for your vote. If you're ready to have the best prepared candidate win against the Republican challenger in November, the person who came closer than anyone in a decade, then I'm going to ask for your vote. I know there are people across our district and we don't all see eye to eye. I get that. And yes, I am not perfect. And sometimes we're going to disagree. But despite our differences, my friends, there are so many things we have in common. So many things. You know what? This desire for a better life for us, our children, our grandchildren. You know, good things are possible. Have hope. With your support and your vote, I know we can do this together. God bless everyone. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joan. All right, fantastic. Kim.
Throughout my professional career of service, I've had to balance optimism with reality. And so I did my research before I announced my candidacy for this seat. And based on that research, I optimistically believed that I could be what you need, but I needed to be certain. So I scheduled several listening sessions to hear your voices. And in Genesee County, not only did you show up, but we had mixed parties and some of you came with documented notes on what you needed to present to me. And it was an incredible session. And in turn, I had no takers, so no comment, no question, no concern went unnoted. So I heard you when you told me that you needed a better transportation system, quality health care, accountable and effective local processes, concerns about family farmers, mental health services, more inclusive processes, the property tax cap, one of Michael's favorite, the internet, better public education. And in the midst of COVID, I would add that we need a more stable economy, food security, and jobs. So as I assessed whether I could be the representative you need, I had to marry and intertwine your needs with other needs and with my qualifications and experiences to make sure that I could realistically deliver for you, and I can. So during the Meet the Candidates event at Moon Java, Michael Plitt mentioned that I am a good listener, but that is just one of 3 principles that I mentioned to you that have guided me through effective leadership. I listen, I plan, and I act. And based on my listening to your voices, I am currently devising a plan for us, a plan that will allow us to reimagine our future beyond COVID. And if you choose me as your representative, together we will finalize that plan and put it into action come January 2020. But first, we need to win this seat. And in Howard's interview of Michael Plitt, he asked which candidate could best take on Ed Rath. Well, I told you that I balance optimism with reality, and realistically speaking, the same type of government has had a tight hold on Genesee County for more than 10 years, and they are not going to willingly let you go. And so I do not believe in single-handed saviors, but I wholeheartedly believe in collective action. And with your representative front and center collectively, we can do this. We can change the culture of District 61 and work within Genesee County, and we can do it and bring forth the democratic pride and power of those over 9,000 democratic voices in Genesee County. And we can do it without fear. I don't make decisions based on fear, and I encourage you to do the same. And together we can replace fear with facts, myth with truth, and create an inclusive environment where we make room for everyone. No more divide. The Genesee County Democratic Committee has given me the honor of endorsement, and I do not take that lightly. COVID and public health law have kept me from you physically, but I am watchful and I am with you in planning and in spirit, and I ask that you consider me in the same ways. I came into Genesee County asking you for what you need and have not asked you for much, but right now on June 23rd, I am asking for your vote. I am asking you to vote Kim Smith for your next representative in our 61st district. Thank you for your time, your attention, and hopefully your vote. And thank you, Sammy, for not raising that pink card to tell me it is time.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Jacqui. Last up is first in our minds here, the second vice chair of the Genesee County Democratic Committee and the City of Batavia chair, Erica O'Donnell.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank you all so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much to the three incredibly qualified and brilliant, and may I say beautiful candidates who joined us tonight. It's been an incredible discussion, and I'm just so grateful that you're all willing to step up and run in this race. For everyone listening, please, at the end of this, head over to our Facebook page, our Twitter, and the YouTube channel and share this with everyone who wasn't able to tune in live tonight. It's so important that we get the message out for all three of these wonderful candidates. And from there, head over to your favorite candidate's website, to their social media, and see what you can do to help them. This has been an incredible, difficult time for politicians, from the presidency all the way down to school board, to get out, to raise money, to really do any real campaigning. So any help that you can lend, any money that you can donate is greatly appreciated by all the candidates. And not to, beat a dead horse too much here, but make sure you fill out those absentee ballot applications. Make sure your family, your friends, your coworkers, everyone you know gets those in, safely gets their ballots in the mail. And if you're unable or forgot or couldn't get that done, please get to the polls on June 23rd to cast your ballot for your favorite candidate tonight. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that the deadline to register to vote in the special election is tomorrow. So if you need to do that, get a hold of your Board of Elections, get on their website and get that taken care of. It's vitally important. So I think I speak for most of us tonight that I am just incredibly grateful to be a resident of New York State right now. With all the chaos coming out of Washington, it has been just such a comforting safety net to be a resident of New York State. And that's just one reason that it is so important that we send one of these incredible women to represent District 61 and Western New York in Albany. We all have our favorites. We're all going to get out and vote in the primary, but on June 24th, there's nothing more important than rallying behind our elected Democratic candidate and getting them to the finish line in November. I can't overstate that. I can't say it enough. No matter what happens on June 23rd, we're going to have a wonderful, fun race up until then. I want to thank everyone for being so incredibly respectful and conscientious with your questions tonight. It has not been a dirty race at all. Everyone's been wonderful and thoughtful and very respectful, and I hope it remains that way for the next month. I'm sure that it will. But more important than anything, June 24th, there's only one team, and that is Team Democrat in Albany representing District 61. So thank you again, everyone, for participating tonight, for viewing on YouTube and Facebook. Again, please make sure you share this with everyone you know. Let's get to the polls and let's get to Albany. Thank you guys so much and have a great night.